Welcome to Mantra Breathing. We're so happy to have you with us. And tonight we're going to talk about the importance of having a spiritual master in your life. And why would you have that?
Yeah.
And what does that mean?
Yeah, so right now I'm working on a book called Happiness and Longevity. And I think the highest happiness is when one reaches a state of liberation in which there's no more suffering, obviously. That would be the highest happiness. And in order to reach that state of liberation, it's important to have a spiritual master who can help you get there. So that's what Babaji and Amaji and Jesus do for us, is they liberate us from our case and from all of our suffering. And so that's why it's important to have a master, I think. And we do this thing called the Arti, where we chant to Babaji, and we sing it twice a day, in the morning and the evening. It takes about 45 minutes. It's in Sanskrit and Hindi, but there's a couple lines I want to say. One is this: thou art a never-failing spring of bliss. I like that statement. Speaking of Babaji, thou art a never-failing spring of bliss. So the master gives you joy. And it actually says in there, Babaji says, I am the bestower of the highest joy. So that's another reason, to have a master. Not only do you get liberated from suffering, at the same time, the master bestows on you the highest joy. And where else are you going to get that? Okay. So also, when you really love a master, you will see very fast changes in your life. Most people don't change very much. If they do change, they change very slowly. So my experience is that we want to unfold spiritually and change. And the fastest way to unfold spiritually is to be in service to the Guru. In my opinion, that's my experience. And because of Babaji, I've been able to change a lot of things in myself and change a lot of things in my life for the better, which I don't know if I could have done that without him. So nothing is more powerful than being with the master, because it's like there's an osmosis between you and the master. And so you benefit greatly from his light. This osmosis creates, his light comes into you. And I don't know if you'd get that without the master. So to release the entire body and mind in communion with the Divine Master is true happiness, in my experience, true happiness. Our intellect is not enough by itself to make us progress. So one needs to receive knowledge from a realized being. If you want to learn something, like you want to be an expert at playing cello, you want to study with a master, right? So if you want to evolve in your spiritual life, you need a master. And he takes away the darkness and your ignorance. And it's a long-term relationship for lifetimes. And the master will guide you to stay on the right path and keep correcting you when you falter and fall off the path. So if you don't have a master, I think progress is pretty slow and uncertain, and you could end up confused. But to have a master, you make rapid spiritual progress. So he successfully trains you and guides you to God. And I would say it's the most important relationship in one's life. And some say we can't become free from the Maya without the help of a master. So it's also, for me, the highest friendship possible. So I can't say enough about it, and I encourage all of you to open up to Babaji and, we call it the Dream Team: Babaji, Jesus, and the Divine Mother. Okay, Marcus, he wrote a book about this, so I'm going to let him talk a while.
Well, it's great to see you all here. And yes, Sandra mentioned I wrote a book. And I wrote a book for a particular reason, because we often run into people that say, well, I don't need a spiritual master. I have everything inside myself to make the changes in life that I need to make. And to a certain degree, that's true. We all have the potential to awaken ourselves, and we are responsible for our own evolution. And a master is never going to make us dependent on them. A true master doesn't make you dependent. A true master awakens in you your potential, or helps you awaken your own potential. But how would we do that if we didn't have these examples of, spiritually charged up, spiritually connected beings that have cut through the dross of the ego and have restored their awareness to this divine connection? And that's all they have. The problem with us is that sometimes we can make that contact with the divine, but then we don't always maintain it, and we can vacillate between our divine connection and our ego, and sometimes that contrast is very great. Well, with the spiritual master, they make the contact and they never go back. So they're always in that divine connection, and they have that clarity, and they have that compassion for helping us. And it's like if you were going to study the cello and you wanted to be masterful playing the cello, you would probably have a teacher that was very masterful. I'm thinking, Yo-Yo Ma, if you've ever heard him play the cello, it's like it takes you to another dimension. So that's the same with the spiritual master. They take you to another dimension that you yourself may not have been able to reach on your own, or if you did reach it on your own, it would take much longer. So one of their functions is to cut time. They cut the time it takes for you to let go of your lower self and rise through the different levels to your true or your higher self. And because they're compassionate and they see our errors, but they don't make them real, they help us to move through, a lot of things in ourselves that maybe would have taken us lifetimes without their help to realize. So I like what Sandra said, they're realized beings. So anyhow, knowing this need for having a spiritual master, I wrote this book a few years ago called The Master is Beautiful. And I talked about some of the spiritual masters that I had contact with. And two of them, or three of them, Sandra introduced me to, the main one being Babaji. So there's a section in the book about Babaji. There's a section in the book about Muni Raj, who was one of Babaji's main disciples. And then when Babaji took Samadhi, Muni Raj took over as kind of the resident guru. And I met Muni Raj. I never met Babaji in the flesh, but I met Muni Raj on a number of occasions. And I could see that he was totally evolved, totally enlightened, and he emitted that light, that pure love, and you could feel it in his presence. So he was one of my first experiences of that kind of masterful energy, Muni Raj. So he's written about in the book. And then this other lady who's Hawaiian that Sandra studied with, Morna Simeona, she's in the book. And she was the one who brought Ho'oponopono to the Western world. The spiritual masters in Hawaii were known as kahunas, and she was a genuine Hawaiian, full-blooded kahuna. And she had the courage to take very ancient teachings that were held secret in, the highest echelons of Hawaiian society and bring them out to the public so that non-Hawaiians could use this tool called Ho'oponopono. And she was quite enlightened herself. I met her on one occasion, and she seemed like a little old lady in boat sneakers, but I'll tell you, she packed a wallop and she knew what she was doing. And she brought this Ho'oponopono out to the Western world. Now it's taught all over the world, in every country just about. So she's in this book, The Master is Beautiful. And then my Course in Miracles teachers are in there. Dr. Shukman, for one, is mentioned in this Master is Beautiful. And then my teacher, Tara Singh, who studied with Dr. Shukman, and also his former teacher before he met the Course in Miracles, Krishnamurti. So those three are kind of in my lineage: Krishnamurti, Tara Singh, and Dr. Helen Shukman, who scribed the Course in Miracles. And then, of course, I talk a little bit in that book about Jesus, mostly from the perspective of the Course in Miracles, because he's the real author of it. He's the voice that the Course in Miracles brings to our modern world in an updated fashion. So grateful that we were born in this lifetime when this material came through, and you know, in the new world, so to speak, in America, that's so materialistic and so concerned with business and acquisition, with that we could produce such a thing as a Course in Miracles is almost a miracle in itself, right? So we've produced this Course in Miracles that'll be here for thousands of years, and it's on the level of any scripture that you would want to quote from any place in the world. It's maybe even higher than ancient scriptures that we've studied. And so we're fortunate to have that. And that's a masterful teaching, and we're glad to have it, and it cuts a lot of time for us. So those are a couple other masters. Then I also wrote in this book, Tara Singh often talked about the spiritual founding fathers of America. They weren't necessarily Washington, Jefferson, Franklin, and Adams. Those were kind of the original founding fathers of the political arena. But he said the spiritual founding fathers of America were Emerson, Thoreau, Walt Whitman, the poet, and oddly enough, Lincoln, the statesman, who was the one who freed, major portion of the American population that was in slavery. He saw that was a contradiction in our principle, and he was willing to put his life on the line to free the slaves. And so Lincoln was a spiritual founding father, and he just happened to be a statesman. That was his form of expression. So those beings are written about. And that's it. I wrote this book called The Master is Beautiful, and those were beings who influenced me and continue to influence me to this day. And this is why we come to India. This is why we go to Bali. It's why we do the rebirthing, because these beings are behind all of our spiritual process, our spiritual practice, and they're a light that's constantly guiding humanity. And it's good to take advantage of that light. And why not? It's like Babaji always said, my love is available. You can take it or leave it, but we say, why not take it? Why not take it? You know, his message is truth, simplicity, love, and service to humanity. And I don't think anyone has simplified the whole mission of having a spiritual life like Babaji did. And that's why we go every year to his home and be in his energy. And we invite you all to come next year, March 26th to April 10th. We already have it up on the website. So we hope some of you will come with us. And some of you have already been there with us, and you know how powerful it is and how transformative it is. So one thing that we gleaned on this trip to India was the importance of the mantra. And we're happy to report that mantra breathing is alive and well, and we're very much moving in the right direction doing this and mixing or adding the mantra to the breathing and empowering the breath with the mantra. So a mantra that maybe some of you already know, we sort of knew about it, but it was a mantra we hadn't memorized yet. And it's called the Gayatri Mantra, and we're going to play that tonight. And it's a very popular mantra in India, and it's like every kid learns it when they're, 10 years old, right? But I don't know why we didn't learn it before, but on this trip we did, and we're reciting it a lot more, and as well as Om Namah Shivaya. I'm kind of on a new Om Namah Shivaya program where I'm keeping a record of how many times I recite it a day. And, there's some teaching that says you can't even get it fully charged up until you say it 625,000 times. So I'm keeping my little book and my little notes, like, okay, I did 12,000 today, 6,000 yesterday. So when I hit 625,000, I'll let you know if there's a light bulb that goes off. And but I'm committed to it. So I feel good. It's not a chore to me. It's not it's not a ritual. It's a joy. It's like charging your battery, plugging yourself in, and I feel really good about it. And, sometimes when we're riding in an Uber or, we're going through our day and we're in a space where we're not really doing anything, right? Well, why not say some Om Namah Shivaya? So that's what I've been doing, keeping my mala close and, riding in the car. Okay, there's a round of Om Namah Shivaya. And before you know it, it's not so hard to say 10,000 Om Namah Shivayas in a day, So I've been doing that, and happy that we're doing the mantra breathing. And I think that Toby and Leah did such a great job keeping the fire burning while we were gone. And it just wasn't the right timing. And sometimes we didn't have very good internet. And we're just not ourselves at like 10:30, 11 at night, So it was 8 o'clock tonight, and I think we're good to go. So if you all want to get ready, we're going to start playing this Gayatri Mantra, and we're going to do, it's each round is 27 minutes. So that'll be like 54 minutes, which I think is a good amount of time. So we'll breathe to 54, 55 minutes to the Gayatri Mantra. And this gentleman was a devotee of Babaji. He was there in Babaji's time. He's Italian, Turk Tom, and he does a really good job on this Gayatri Mantra. So that will be the whole time. We'll play the Gayatri Mantra for the whole time. And then next week, when we get back to the US, we'll do a round of Goma. I don't know which one we'll play, but we'll play Goma next week. But I think this week, it's good to play this new mantra, or at least new to us, the Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhurva Swaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Diyo Yo Na Prachodayat. That's it. Okay. So let's get going. And wonderful to have you with us.
Swa Tata Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Om Bhurabhuva Swa Tata Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodayat. Swa Tata Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi